People are weird. Whipped cream. Jimmy, come on. Well, I thought today, I'm like still pretty sick, but my voice sounds cool when I'm sick. So I thought today would be a good day to talk about the day Brooke was born. I made a video on it a while ago, and I can't find it. It's like somewhere in my phone, so I'm just doing another one. I had pretty much no idea most of my pregnancy, like when my due date was. So that was kind of unusual. When I first went, they told me it was like end of August, based off of when I told them that I like remembered having my period, and I was like, huh, okay. That didn't sound right, you know. Not like enough time, because August was only the 8th, you know, and when you're pregnant, you add 2 weeks to like pretty much before you conceived. So it can be kind of hard, like at least for me to conceptualize, like, wait, how long is this gonna be? And it's kind of different for every woman, because it just depends. Like if you were a little heavier when you got pregnant, you probably will be able to carry your pregnancy a little bit longer. I was really underweight. I didn't really like realize it at the time that I was. I just like, I was really, I thought like, I was like at the perfect weight for me. I like weighed like 105, 110. And I was riding my bike a lot, and I had very like little muscle. But I was like, I you know, I'm a recovering anorexic. And I never really thought about myself like that, but I had a lot of those like, you know, markers in my life at that time. So point being, my BMI was 17. So I put on, you know, I gave birth at like 160. I think it was 160 flat. And what was unusual was that like the week before I had given birth, I had just like stopped gaining weight. I had like, and I had read that that was a sign that you're about to give birth. So I was like, no, I can gain weight. I can gain weight. Look. And so yeah, I think at that point I had like, I was at, I think like 140 or 150, and then I put on like that additional 10 pounds, and then I just like I stayed there. And so yeah, girl, look at that cute baby. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is, you know, that kind of like ties in with the due date. I wasn't like, you know, I had a general idea of when she was going to come, but I didn't like know for sure. It was better for my anxiety that way, I guess. And then all the doctors I had, you know, my physician in Arizona was like, oh, next time you come, I'll tell you your due date for sure. And then the next time I came, he was like, oh, the next time we'll know it for sure. And I was just like, you know, I don't know how many, you're only getting prenatal visits like once a month at that point. So he didn't really seem to care that much. So, I started considering other options, because where I was, there was like only like, you know, one hospital in the area or a birthing center. And considering it was my first pregnancy, I wasn't even open to the idea of a birthing center. Some women, after they've had, you know, a couple like hospital pregnancies, they'll decide they want to do a birthing center. And that's, I think that I can understand that. But even still, after having one hospital birth, I probably would have another hospital birth, just because, just like the sanitary aspect, like my house is not set up for birth. You know, my bathroom is really small. So yeah, I really liked knowing that I was going to go somewhere with people that were smarter than me and could handle stress better than I could. And there were a lot of them all in one place. That was very, very comforting to me. So, yeah, so once I like had come to the South and I had visited this really nice hospital here, I was like, oh, cool. I had no idea that like hospitals were so nice. You know, down south, I went to the Huntsville Hospital originally because that's where I had planned to have Brooke. And they have just like a very impressive world-class neonatal unit. So I was really excited about her being there. And then I was like, oh, if I'm in labor and I'm driving 2 hours, like what? It just wasn't going to work out. I had been taking like, you know, mommy classes up until pretty much, you know, I went from the time I was like a month pregnant to like 4 months or 5 months, I think. Yeah, it was from like January, until May. I went like every week, did these mommy classes. You choose, you know, like what you want to do. It was really cool. And I still have so many clothes from those classes. I got so much stuff. It was an invaluable resource. So point being, I didn't know really what to expect for birth, you know, like I said, because it was better for my anxiety, but it definitely like threw a monkey wrench in things because I didn't like know what to expect leading up to it. If I had been able to kind of like anticipate like the early signs of labor, you know, I might have had a more relaxing experience. But in any case, in that last week before I did give birth, my feet were swelling, like my feet got really big. And that was probably like 3 days before Brooke was born. My feet just got huge. So like the first big thing was, you know, like I stopped gaining weight. I just kind of like, like I said, I think it was like, I put on an additional like 20 pounds, but it was like really hard to do at that point. Because the scale just wasn't going anywhere. And that's a sign, you know, when you stop gaining weight. Yeah, girl, are you done? All done, baby? Good girl. She's eating her waffle over there. I want her to eat most of it. She has like an hour to eat her food in the morning. So anyway, yep, I remember we went to, oh, no. Come here, baby. I love you too. All right, good job. And change your diaper. Do a couple laps. Oh no, that's fine. Thank you. Yeah, so I had gone to Walmart that day and, you know, just to do a little shopping. I was so miserable, just because of my feet, you know, they were so swollen. And, you know, my stomach was so big at that point. Like, I saw a picture of me, I think from like the day before, a week before, and my stomach was like absolutely massive because Brooke was just like huge. She's like, you know, she's a tall girl. So she took up a lot of space. So I definitely think that affected like why I gave birth a little earlier than I could have, because she should have been born closer to like you know, the end of September, but she came like, you know, the second week of September, you know, so she could have been in there longer, but she wasn't. So anyway, point of the story, we're at Walmart, and I was like, you know, huffing and puffing around, and this lady came up to me when I was like, you know, trying to catch my breath. No, I was actually walking out of the store. And she was like, when are you due? Because that's all anyone was ever asking me at that point. And I was like, oh, I got another, like, you know, at least 3 more weeks. At that point, I said 6 more weeks because I was wanting Brooke to be overdue. I wanted her to be in for 42 weeks. What a crazy person. You know, which I've heard that definitely happens with women, you know. That wasn't going to happen with me. Especially because I just, like, ignored the, like, what I had read, which was, I don't know, looking back, I like, still think that's so funny, because in my head, I was like, no, I can make myself gain weight. But what I think I ended up doing is that she had very little space in there, and any extra, you know, babies can only drink amniotic fluid, you know, that's a common misconception. When I, you know, first got pregnant, I assumed that the umbilical cord was, you know, what got her nutrition through. That's just her blood, it connects to her blood supply, which connects to the placenta, which is, you know, you're not, like, directly connected to the baby. It's like, you know, they got, like, their own, like, little circuit board, if that makes sense. Like, they have a MIDI controller, and you're the laptop. So, yeah. And that little MIDI controller is connected, you know, through the umbilical cord, but babies drink, you know, they chug amniotic fluid. So if you have some tasty food, they can chug that. But if I'm eating more, you know, she can only get a few mouthfuls and then she gets full. So I was overdoing it. I was overeating, and I think that's ultimately, like, what pushed my labor up a couple weeks, because I thought I could, like, change that. And so, yep, lesson learned. I would not do that again, because that's the crazy thing about, like, going, you know, I've been really heavy in my life, and then I got super skinny, so I've never really connected to, like, you know, either or any of the, like, food related disorders. Okay, you okay? There you go. She's grabbing her little drawing pad. I need to go get my nails done outside. Anyway, so, yeah, overeat. You're supposed to eat more in your pregnancy, but it's only an additional 300 calories. So that's like one more snack. But if you're used to, like, you know, restricting your calories, it was a lot more food. So it definitely did trigger some overeating and binge eating in me that I thought, like, I had totally, you know, taken care of or whatever. So stuff pops up and you got to work with it. But that was an interesting thing, for sure. And what else? I did a quad workout yesterday and my quads hurt so bad. Yep, so, what else? There's, like, actually, so I didn't even tell the story. This is such a long video. I get so irritated when people just, like, talk about nothing. What are you doing? You have all this stuff to crawl on. How about you crawl on there? Yeah. You gotta be smarter than babies and just put stuff on shelves. It shouldn't be that difficult, but when you're tired, it can be a tough order. Brooke, you know the rule, right? You know the rule. If you keep trying to crawl up and do things that you're not supposed to do, what happens? Oh, you go in the gym. Thank you. What do you think rules are for? Just because you want to do it, you just can? No. Sorry. It's so dangerous for you to do that. So, I'm sorry. Okay. That's my good girl. You'll listen, right? You know I'm serious. You have total freedom of movement. You can do anything you want. You have stuff to play with in every corner of this house. And you choose to do the one thing that you know you're going to get in trouble for. I think you need to refocus your energy a little bit. Oh, look, it's your favorite Daniel Tiger. Wait, it said Daniel Tiger's on right now. Why is it? Oh, no. Live TV is Sesame Street, even better. Wow, that's a great song. I got totally sucked into that. So yeah, that day we were at Walmart. I was really sour that lady had said, I was like, oh, I have 6 more weeks. And she's like, I don't think you're going to last, 6 more minutes or something like that. And I was like, oh, how rude. Because I was like, really trying to mask my discomfort. But I was really, really uncomfortable. No. Yeah, like my stomach was just so big. And then Brooke was really active. She started doing this thing. She was like head down. She was like always facing the right, the right way. She was in the perfect position the whole time. But she would get bored and she would like roll around, and she would like flip on her side, I guess. And it would just like, wow, it hurts. I don't even know how to describe the feeling of, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to burst from the inside. Yeah, that was very intense. So, she was a good listener. I'd be like, oh, Brooke, please chill, don't do that. And she would like change her position, but it was getting to be, a lot. It's so sensational. There's just so many different feelings associated with pregnancy that are like not your own, so it's this whole like, oh my gosh, like what is she doing, like how is she feeling, is everything okay with her, like, so it was really fun. So that day we got back from Walmart, and I just like couldn't really like bend over or do much of anything at that point. I was just really like hanging on, reclining a lot, trying to put my feet up because they were so swollen. So I didn't really know like what else to do. And yeah, it was like, I started like feeling like, all this pressure in my stomach, like, and now I know they're contractions, but at the time it like, I'd never really felt anything quite like that. It feels similar to like when you're having like period cramps, but like much more sustained, like it just didn't like, I don't know, it was crazy. It was like, those ab machines that they used to like sell, a bunch of kids used those when I was kids, or when we were kids. Those were very popular. But yeah, I remember I used it like once, or I watched one of my friends use it. I don't really remember. And it was that exact sensation where you're like, and so I started feeling like that happening, and I was just like freaking out, like a lot of the feelings towards the end of my pregnancy were like just like absolute exhaustion. So it was really hard to like I said, it was so much of the time like trying to determine like, oh, Brooke is really active. Does that mean she likes the food that I've given her? Does that mean she doesn't like the music? Like I was always trying to interpret all of these, different stimuli that I was giving her, because I was really trying to get to know her, figure out, like, stuff that she likes, ahead of time, or, do what I can, and I, like, didn't really know how I felt, so that day or that evening, got back, I think I put away the groceries, because we had just done, like, a big weekly shop, so put everything away, all the cat food and juice and milk and whatever else, and I was just I remember just trying to relax. I was like, oh, maybe I'll take a bath or something like that, and I remember being, like, constipated. I was like, oh, I really have to poop, and, so, I, like, kept going to the bathroom, and I, like, wasn't trying to, like, push that hard, because I was like, uh-oh, like, I have I was, like, kind of in denial that I was, like, probably in labor, but I was just feeling like I was sick, so I was like, oh, I've, like, mentally, like, had prepared myself for being pregnant for a while longer, so, Jackson had a friend come over, and I was, like, chilling in the other room, just because I was, like, I don't know, he was really weird about it. He, like, wanted me to hide in the other room, so I did, and I was just, like, so big and pregnant, I didn't really want anyone I didn't know, like, just, like, holy cow, what's that? I honestly would have never really minded any attention at that point, so whatever, excuse me. Anyway, long story short, my water broke. I was, like, sitting on the bed, and I kept having to go to the bathroom, so I was like, oh, I feel like I have to pee. Or I feel like, I got up because I felt like I had to go to the bathroom, right? And I stand up, and then it just goes whooshing out, and I was like, uh-oh. And at several points in my pregnancy, I felt this, like, really weird sensation of, like, Brooke, like, dragging one of her fingernails, like, along, close to my cervix or whatever, and it was very uncomfortable. She had tried doing it a couple times, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, please don't do that. And she would stop right away, but I had noticed that weird feeling, at some point in the evening that day, and I was like, oh no. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, oh, maybe her little fingernail is what cut open the amniotic sac, which caused my water to break. So that was a really cool thought for me to consider. Like, I had never really, you always want, some people say their water doesn't break, but, so I'd had those sensations, like, right next to each other, and then all that water came rushing out, and I was like, oh my god, I think maybe I peed, right? And so I looked up, like, what does, if your water breaks, like, what is the difference between your water breaking and peeing yourself? And Google was just like, well, urine smells like urine, and water smells like water. And I was like, okay, thanks, Mom. And, that was it. I smelled, the spot of water, and I was like, oh, it doesn't smell like pee. This is it, it's happening. And, so I just kind of, like, froze. I didn't really know what to do. I was like, oh my god, like, this is it. Like, it's about to happen, like, and I just, it's like, so, I don't know how to describe it. It's like this crazy feeling, like, comes over you, where you're like, whoosh, like you're going through a tunnel or something. And, so I, sent the text, and then, the friend went home, and, like, the night began, and, when I got to the hospital, went to the emergency room. I was supposed to deliver at a different hospital, like, 15 minutes away from here, but it was too far, and so they told me, they're like, yeah, just go to there's a hospital right by your house, just go there. So we did that instead. And we pull up and, you know, they ask you a lot of questions, which was like, it's your job. But like when you see a pregnant lady and she's like, "Ah!" screaming, like that's like what a contraction feels like. No, when people try to say like, you can, you know, breathe through the pain. Okay, yeah, you can, but like for any first time mom, most of the time, especially if you didn't like take any classes or educate, like someone explaining to you, or even you seeing someone give birth, because I had seen someone give birth at that point, and I was like, okay, you know, I've read about it, and I'd watched, you know, I'd done a fair bit of research, so I was like, okay, it can't be like that bad, right? People like, I guess some people can really like handle pain, especially I think after having more kids, you like get used to the process of it. But that came at me like a train. I was like, holy shit. So I'm like screaming, and then you can like see my stomach just going like, which was very terrifying. Like I was not making it do that, but it was doing that. But that's like what contractions are. So yeah, so they were like asking me all these stupid questions and trying to figure out what the deal was, and getting all my information from my doctor, and like knowing like there really wasn't much, like, because I had a pretty healthy pregnancy, and there weren't any issues for them to like monitor me more for. God bless you. So yeah, once they finally admitted me out of the emergency room and like into the labor area, I think we went there, like that all happened at 8, and there was some shuffling around, them trying to find a room, and you know, all that crap, and then all the nonsense of like, you know, like just seeing people on their phone, like not really giving a shit. I should have made more of an effort to like have people that I cared about there, which is like my biggest regret. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like what was I thinking? But it came really quickly. So yeah, I yeah, it's like hard to like remember all the details. Once I got into like the delivery room and a doctor came, it was pretty quick that it was established that I would like probably benefit from an epidural, because I was just screaming. I think I'm a tough person, right? Like labor pain is like, it's you know, it's just the contractions. Like I can't even, like I don't even. It's like doing like 1,000 crunches, you know, like every 5 minutes. Like that's like with the intensity, because your stomach is so huge, you know, so like it's painful to, your muscles are all like, yeah, they're normally your abs are here, but when you're like pregnant, they're not, they're like on the sides, so you feel pressure just in these crazy areas. It's incredibly painful. So yeah, I got an epidural. So once they like, you know, timed the epidural out, because my contractions were coming pretty quickly, so basically the whole process from that point was just waiting until I was dilated enough to for her head to come out. So she was in the right position, she was happy, her heart rate was good, everything was good. We just had to like sit and wait. You know, like I said, for my cervix to dilate. So I once they administered that, I think that was like probably at like 9:30 or 10, probably closer to like 9:30, 9:15, because I hadn't been there long, and I'd had enough contractions that everyone was like, so you want that epidural, or are you gonna just do this all night long? Which was incredibly stressful, and that's like ultimately, it was so painful. And then realizing that, like, you know, auditory discomfort I would put other people in that are supposed to be helping me, I was like, I'll just take the epidural. And I had a much better experience. So I basically just like knocked out and dilated, laid on my side and dilated, and when the nurses, doctors came in, we're like, okay, we're gonna check you out. That's how dilated you are. Oh, you're not quite there, or sleep a little bit longer. You know, it was honestly kind of nice. So when they did finally come back at like 4 in the morning, 3 or 4, like, okay, you're ready, let's go. I just like, that was it. So my one regret is that I like didn't really need to push, and I think that's the thing that like I read. You don't really need to really push. If you're like straining, you're going to like tear yourself. So I really didn't appreciate that like all of these women, there were like 4 or 5 women standing in front of me telling me push, knowing that it was going to like cause me to tear. But the only like positive of that is that I don't know. I got stitches. I didn't want stitches in my vagina. So yeah, those just like, the stitches just dissolved. It felt really like weird for a while. Yeah. Whew, I gotta go. Yeah, so anyway, pretty short labor. Pretty beautiful baby. The hospital stay was pretty nice. Wasn't perfect. I don't think anything is. But, they let me do skin to skin, like, right away. And I fed her right away. They did, try to take her off and do a million different, like, heel pricks and all this different stuff over and over and over again. I finally had to be like, can you stop, like, drawing her blood? Like, she's fine. You're hurting her. She's just crying because she just was born, and now you're like poking her in the heel. Like, leave my baby alone. So yep, there were a few things I would have liked to change. Some of the nurses were bitchy. Some of the nurses were really nice. It's always better to go with people. Like you never should leave a woman alone in a hospital if she's having a baby. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how great the hospital is. Like, someone should be there with her. So that was a big regret. There was a football game that was very important. Yeah, I don't know if those were all the details that could help someone else. You don't really need to push. You don't need to like strain yourself, because that will result in stitches. Yeah. So, take a buddy, take a couple. They always try to say like, oh, you can't have visitors. Like, oh, bullshit. Yeah, this isn't a visitor. This is like someone that's like, you just have to have people there with you. Like, the more the better, because they'll be on watch more. And that's why they say they don't want visitors, because they want to be able to like intimidate you and be like, push, when they know that's gonna cause you to get stitches. Like, that's not good. They're trying to bill, right? Like, and it's in an extreme case when you're like under their care, it's like being at a country club, but it's like a medical country club, and anything that they offer you, you will pay for. They offer you a fruit cup, that's $11.99 or $29.99. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's the same with like their shitty medical advice. Like, it's a really weird strategy. You just have to be super on your toes. You can't be assuming that they're like the doctor and they care about you. Like, they don't give a shit. They're just trying to make money. So, yeah, they were really pushy about vaccines. They were really pushy about a lot of things. I signed a religious exemption, and they still tried to push that. And I'm really like not too impressed with Tennessee as a state, considering like a lot of, I'm a new resident here, right? And it's just mind-blowing to me to see how they roll. I certainly wouldn't suggest this place to anybody. Like, people flock to the West Coast. Like, there are very desirable places. This place isn't. Not because it's not a beautiful place. It has great architecture, and the nature is just, like, world class. But the people here are, like, generation after generation descendants of, like, people that genuinely thought that the Confederate position was a good position. Haven't reassessed that claim. They're like, no. Oh, well. So yeah, that definitely puts things in perspective for me, about Tennessee. It is very pretty here, but looks can be deceiving, can't they? So, I don't know. Yeah, the hospital staff left some to be desired, but the facilities themselves were pretty good. You know, if you remove, like, the people aspect, I probably, I probably wouldn't want to have another child here, at all. But the hospital that I did give birth in was good. It seemed like it was, I didn't tour the, maternal ward, like, itself. I was in the doctor's offices, but the, like, labor and delivery unit is, you know, separate. I should have asked to see that, because that would have been a little bit more helpful. But, oh my God, I can't even, I was relatively happy with how, you know, the birth experience came out. I didn't have much to compare it to, other than the hospital that I was born in, and I didn't, again, I just said all that stuff, so it's whatever. But no, I certainly would not, like, want, I don't know, I'm getting so lost, but I don't know, maybe I would, but I'm just, like, so frustrated at the state of Tennessee overall. I thought this was a nice place. So it's cool that I gave birth to Brooke here, but I feel stupid for, like, doing that, because these people are not very nice. So, like, people in Arizona are really nice, and that's, like, something that I can always count on in my life. When I say I'm from Arizona, people are like, oh, everyone in Arizona is so nice. I'm like, yes, we are. So I'm nice until you give me a reason to not be nice, you know? In most places, it's not that way. They're a dick until you give them a reason to be nice, which is kind of giving, like, prostitution vibes, but I digress. That's something that I just like about Arizona so much more, and I would rather have my children in Arizona, even if the hospital systems are not as advanced as they, you know, as from what I've seen in Tennessee, just because, I don't know. I would rather, my children be from, like, a community that has, like, an identity, you know, outside of enslaving Black people. Like, Arizona just was never part of that. So I can kind of understand, like, why it's hard for Southerners to, like, rebrand, but it's also, like, not that hard. You just, like, you know, like, move on to another topic. The whole slavery thing didn't work, you know, but, like, the wages here do not seem to reflect that sentiment. And yeah, there's just, like, so many counter service restaurants. I'm just like, what? Do people here, like, not know how to make money on their own? Are they, like, so stupid that they, like, need to enslave a smarter person and, like, take half of their wages just to have a life? Like, what? It's so embarrassing. It's not that hard to learn how to do stuff. You just, like, have to do it. Anyway,